Hello and welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And today we're going to be reviewing Pirates of Maracaibo. Now this is a DLP game and it's got a few different designers up here.
Yeah, you'll notice the first one being Alexander Pfister, who is the designer of the original Maracaibo.
OG, baby.
This is a follow-up game to it, and it's very card-driven, but it's not Maracaibo the card game. It really stands on its own. The other two designers on here being Ralph Bienet, I believe it might be pronounced, and then Ryan Hendrickson, who has done a similar thing where he took original games and made kind of little follow-up versions of them with the original designers.
Yeah.
So that kind of piqued my interest, along with Alexander Pfister, of course.
So let's go ahead and see how it plays.
Here's Pirates of Maracaibo set up on the board here. I'm going to point out a few things. First off, this down here is your individual player area. You have a pirate ship that you'll be able to get upgrades and slot them into these areas to get immediate or ongoing benefits. You also have an island where you're going to be storing the treasure that you'll be getting over the course of the game, emeralds, gold, and pearls, putting them here. And if you bury them, as a good pirate should do with the shovel action, you get to actually take that item and move it below the buried line in order to get little bonuses of points, money, or other things I'll explain as we go along. So that's your personal area. There would be up to 4 of these. I set up 1 just for the better view of the camera. Over here's a market of upgrades that you can get and quest cards to earn points if you meet different conditions. Over here is going to be the victory point track and the exploration board. As you advance on this, you'll be able to get little bonus actions over the course of the game. Now over here is going to be the main area. This is the actual Caribbean that you'll be sailing through, and an ending over here in Maracaibo. I'm not going to explain everything, especially because there is a lot of symbology in the game and a lot of different bonuses and actions that you can take. It's all explained very well here in the rulebook, but there is a bit going on. So let me explain the general idea of a turn and a round. On a player's turn, they're going to take their ship and move up to 3 spaces. Spaces can be both horizontal or vertical movements. So if I were here, I could go 1, 2, 3 steps, and I would activate the card that I land on. Now, you have to end your turn at least 1 column closer to the island of Maracaibo, and that can be even with just 1 movement, and then you do whatever's on the card. Now, a lot of these cards you're going to collect. Some of them you simply stop on. Let me talk about the 3 different types of cards. First off are island cards here. These ones you stop at and you take whatever bonuses are printed on it. Over here are the estate cards, the gray background ones, where you will pay a lot of money in order to claim endgame victory points. You're going to earn extra points based on how much treasure you've buried or how many of these rivers you've crossed on the exploration track, or how many of a certain type of gem that you have collected over the course of the game. Now, the third type of card, and you'll see is the most common, are these what are called improvement cards. They show a cost in the top left, oftentimes are worth points in the top right, might provide you ongoing income at the end of each round in the bottom left, and they have something shown in the middle there. Red banners mean ongoing benefits. If I stopped here and I paid the 4 coins, I would actually be able to collect this card, keep it in my little tableau or my player area in front of me, and now I get an ongoing benefit. Every time that I use the green die, I can add 2 value to it. When you purchase a card, it is replaced from this level 2 deck. The level 1 deck is the setup deck, along with the islands and such. Now in the future, the next player can go. They can end on my island and pay me a doubloon, or they can just choose to continue to go past, purchase cards, add it to their tableaus, and then replace it from the deck. You might discover new islands along the way, and you might also get other types of improvements from this level 2 deck. There are these cards here that have red banners, meaning ongoing benefits. There are ones like this tan banner, which means immediately you get to carry out this action, a fight at 8 strength. Or there are even cards here that if you pay for them and collect them, they're going to be worth endgame points. Hey, for every 3 gold that I rescue off of the island here, I'll get 7 points. So as you collect these, you're going to be improving your income, your victory points, so on and so forth. Now, a round will end when a player on their turn moves into this harbor space here. They are forced to stop their turn. They get to choose one of these 3 upgraded actions here, and then every other player will get to go finish out their round, and then when it comes back to the blue player, they're going to slide one space forward here into Maracaibo proper. They'll get 6 points and another one of those upgrades that I talked about to make their ship better. When the round ends, everyone resets back to the beginning, and you'll play a second round going through the Caribbean here again. But a lot of these level 1 cards will have become level 2 cards. It'll have changed, and then you keep playing until someone reaches the harbor. Everyone finishes out the round, and then that person slides into Maracaibo proper. You're going to do that 3 times over the course of the game. Now, there's a few things I want to point out that are very specific, and that is the actions for raiding here. Every time you stop at any island, you always get an upgrade cube, and you can make some sort of benefit. Hey, whenever I raid, I have +1 to that raid. Well, I'm going to go raiding right now. I can roll the dice. If I don't like my roll, I can re-roll them, but you have to re-roll all of them. And now we get to choose one of these 3 colors of dice, which you notice correspond to the 3 types of treasure. Well, this is how you're going to get those treasure. So if I choose one of these dice, I can spend sword value. I get sword of strength up to my total, my die roll plus any ongoing benefits that I have. So if I choose this green one, I have 6 + 2 + 1. So I've got 9 fighting strength to go with, and it explains right here on my pirate board what I can do with that strength. 5 strength allows me to take one of these gems of that type or one of these treasures, place it onto my player board. You might get a little benefit immediately for doing that. With 2 strength, I can get 3 coins. I have 1 strength remaining, so I can also choose to get a point from doing that, but you can never repeat these same actions. Other cards might allow you to get upgrades like spend 4 battle strength to do this particular type of benefit. So you'll be getting more options for when you do battling or raiding. There are actions like this one here that allow you to move on the track, the exploration track. You can move up to that number of steps, and you might move fewer to choose to get certain benefit. Now, if the blue player were able to move 3 steps, they could also leapfrog over me, and that doesn't count towards their movement. Things like that. So at the end of the game, let's talk about scoring, right? We've collected all these cards. We've gotten income over the course of the game. We've done this whole thing 3 times. Here on your island board, it'll show scoring. Every one of these rivers that you've crossed on the exploration board is going to be worth 4 points. Every 5 coins is a point. The value of the cards that you've collected, plus if any of them are end game scoring points, as with this one here, then you'll also gain points equal to the value of your treasure. Now, you might, over the course of the game, collect a bunch of these treasures, but you'll also notice that these tracks will fluctuate, the value of those treasures. So at the end of the game right now, because I went too heavy into emeralds and didn't stop at islands that would repopulate the emerald value, each of my emeralds is only worth 2 points, but each gold is worth 5 points, and each pearl would be worth 4 points, so that'll be dependent on what the endgame value of each of those are. Next up, if you took actions to bury treasures, then each buried treasure is going to be worth 2 points. And then there are these quest cards, as I said, goals, little objectives to work towards. If you complete the easy side of it, you'll get some small points. If you complete the harder side of it, you'll get even more points. And if you complete 6 or more of them, you'll get bonus 10 points on top of all of that. So there you go. That's Pirates of Maracaibo.
All right, so talking about our history with the game, I have not played the original Maracaibo.
I have. It's been a little while. I had to kind of refresh on, okay, let's talk about, what are the differences and stuff here.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to focus more on this game just on its own, because I assume that a lot of people want to know, hey, how is this game, how should it be
as a standalone?
Reviewed as a standalone, yeah.
Sure, so I don't know anything about the original game. I know there's a board involved, and there's less board in this maybe, potentially, but other than that, I don't know how the system works at all.
Right.
So starting with this, one thing that I really like is the way the cards are laid out. So it has such a good structure to me because it's a lot of cards and the cards change throughout the game, but there are island cards spaced throughout it that are stable. They're stationary, and so there are actions that are always going to be there so that when you move your boat across, if you need some specific things, you can always hit those islands. But then it also has the endgame scoring cards, the residence cards that are out there so that you can always get those those end game things from the beginning. You know what you're looking towards, and then the rest of the cards change, and they're very active, and it's very variable. And so I like that it has that core structure to the randomness, because oftentimes I get frustrated with games that have big decks of cards and everything changes and the whole board changes. Whereas I think this has such a good structure that I'm then able to really appreciate and enjoy the variability of the board.
And there's that level of excitement that comes with, I bought an improvement card and I reveal a new one. And there's that feeling of, if you're behind, you're like, ooh, is that card so good for my strategy? I'm willing to go where 2 other players are and have to pay them coins just to get that card. Mm-hmm. Or I'm already past that. I already sailed way past it. But on the next go around, if I'm the person who triggers the end of the round, I'll, I don't want to do that because I won't be able to go first next round. You know what I mean? So you have these really good layers of decisions that all just kind of build up. And as you said, core structure. Mm-hmm. The board won't fluctuate so much that you go, some games you say, why do I even care looking at the board until it's my turn? Yeah, no. Enough of it's going to be the same, so you're very invested. Ooh, is something going to change for the better? Or am I just going to go to that island that I know is going to be right there?
Though sometimes I'm afraid to look at the card that I reveal because I'm like, no, it's a good one. It's what I wanted. Someone else is going to take it. I really enjoy that structure that's there. Do you have any other highlights specifically that stuck out to you?
I think it's good. I think that I think it's good. I think that what you mentioned is possibly one of my highlights. The way that all is laid out there on the table, I think that's great. I love the exploration track. I love tracks in games. And as you say, hey, you get to see a lot all at once. But also the way that it's designed is you don't have to know everything on that track from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you just kind of start running on it. And you're like, what's this? I don't know. We'll figure it out when I get there.
There's some shovels.
Yeah, there's a lot of this game that feels much more approachable than Alexander Pfister's some of his heavier games, like Maracaibo, like Great Western Trail. Everything kind of laid out, and there's a lot of symbology. That's probably my biggest detraction, is the symbology, and yet it is good. The iconography is good. It's just a bit to take in, and yet at the same time, I don't feel like it's completely overwhelming. I
feel like there's a couple icons that can mean a couple different things, like they're too similar. But other than that, I feel like everything else is pretty straightforward. So for me, it was just learning those specific ones and maybe asking you, because you knew what you were doing, to clarify that. My one negative, I think, is just the exploration track. Sometimes you have really good bonuses, like 6 money, and then sometimes you have like a shovel or like a point. So there's just, I'm sure that it's laid out for a reason that way.
I feel like it's laid out so at the beginning, like you're encouraged to jet out and be like, yes, I want to go exploring. And then in the middle of the track, it's like sloggier bonuses. And so it's like, do you want to keep exploring or do you want to kind of focus, shift strategy somewhere else? But man, if you get past that middle part where there's like these smaller, more minute bonuses, when you get to the end of the exploration track, it's amazing again.
It is. Sometimes you have 1 shovel versus 2 shovels, though, and they're right by each other. And I just think, like, why? So that's super minor. What else I really like about this is the point salad nature of it. So it is an engine build, right? Everything that you're choosing to do almost is like a form of engine building, unless you're just getting points. But there's even a point engine you can build. So there's so much engine building and a variety of different strategies and different ways and all that kind of stuff. And so in some ways, it seems point salad-y. But to me, that's never been a negative. Do you feel like that is a problem?
So here, I've been trying to find a great way to explain why some games are point salads, but they don't feel denigrating. They don't feel like... in this game, you can take many actions that don't 100% directly lead to points, right? But they set up for getting coins and getting money, which will lead to other things. You can buy cards in this game that aren't worth points in and of themselves, but will give you a big bonus to when you go raiding or give you a big bonus to this or that. So it's not like in the 2000s, Stefan Feld designed some games that sure were seriously like, I collect 2 wood resources this round. 3 points for your turn. You know what I mean? They almost felt like they were like talking down to you, just giving you points each turn. And this is not one of those. And that's what I appreciate. You still have to work hard for the money, if you know what I'm saying.
That's interesting, because I don't think I've ever felt that way in a game. That I was like, here's your points, here's your allowance. You took your turn.
Oh, I felt that way.
I don't feel like it's degrading.
Degrading?
Degrading?
Yeah.
Wow. Denigrating. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't feel that in games. Like, I don't feel like it's being that way. But in this one, for sure, I enjoy it. I think that it's fun. I like that you get points from cards. You get points from burying treasures. You get points from, going on the exploration track. Like, there's a bunch of different ways you get points, and you get to add it all up at the end, and it's really fun.
And that's my favorite part, I think, is that this thematically is more about being the Pirates of Maracaibo rather than like France and Spain fighting for control of the islands. That was the original. This one's like, you're pirates. Yes, for the most part, that means move your ship 1, 2, or 3 steps, buy a card. It feels very Euro-y in that sense, but it does enough of the right things, like, I want treasure. I want to then bury that treasure. Why? Because points. Why did pirates want to bury their treasure originally? I don't know. There probably was a reason.
I don't know.
But mostly points, right?
Couldn't just stick it in a bank.
And so I think that this has enough of those little touches. Like, it's very free form. Rather than be... And so I'm going to make a few comparisons to the original here. The original Maracaibo, you move in a big circle, and there's like a few little branching paths. This one feels more free form. Even just the way that it's physically laid out on the board feels more free form, and I like that. You can set up, you can arrange the cards and those like cardboard islands that you never go to. You can create different arrangements. You can play with a few variant rules in the back where the islands are undiscovered at the beginning, and when you land there, you flip them over. There's another variant where as you replace improvement cards, you put them out face down, and you don't know what they are until you sail past them. So you move a space, flip it over, and you have the freedom to say, I'm stopping here, or I'm going to keep going.
Oh, interesting. So you want to sail past them.
Yeah, and so there's those little things that make this feel a little bit more open, feel a little bit more giving than the original Maracaibo. The original Maracaibo did have a very Mombasa-like element to it, where you're trying to remove cubes of the 3 different countries that are trying to control the Caribbean and stuff. And that's good, and that's kind of simplified into the treasures of this game.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that feel kind of like this became this, and I like those simplifications. I feel like there's fewer steps to doing almost anything in Pirates of Maracaibo, and yet there's still that rewarding depth of free form, get lots of points, pursue different paths.
Now with the rondel, you said there wasn't a lot of branching.
Not as much, yeah.
Because this is what's interesting about this is that the columns have maximum 4 cards in them. So if you are trying to get any card in the column next to where you're at, you can get there because you have 3 total movement, right? So if you're the highest space, you're going to maximum go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's fascinating to me that you have literally 3 or 4 branches every movement that you have, and then from there you can branch off farther.
Right.
And so you can get any card that you want.
Almost. I think that there's like, if you're at the very bottom of a 4 column and the next column is 4, you can't get to the tippity top one, and that affected me once in a game.
Oh, I could see that. I could see that.
But yeah, like you said, much more.
But you can almost get to everything that you want.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's not as restrictive. In the original Maracaibo, you move 1 to 7 spaces in this big circle, and so you're just sitting there like you're doing more mathing in Maracaibo, and in this one, in Pirates, I feel like you're doing a little bit more like, that looks fun.
Okay.
And I like that.
I can see that, because you're still rushing to that end to trigger the end of the round, but moving 3 spaces versus 7 spaces, it's more visually easy to count 3 spaces.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, very cool. I'm giving this an 8.5. I think that it's a great engine builder. It's just very refreshing to have this like quick midweight Euro for me, especially after I played a lot of like heavier games lately. I just feel like this ended with me wanting more, but also feeling like I really got to build my engine and I got to enjoy my incomes, which is surprising because there's only 3 rounds. So you'd think an income engine wouldn't be very fun, but there's ways to trigger those incomes in between if you want to. So, so much good stuff. So anyways, 8.5, fabulous game for me.
I'm going to agree with you all the way down to the score. This is an 8.5 for me. I was debating kind of between an 8 and an 8.5 because it's a little bit trickier to teach because of some of the iconography. I think that's some of my biggest holdup. And yet, as I said as well, the game, the way that it's laid out, the way that it's all presented, I don't have to over-teach it. That's a big deal for me. I can kind of teach the basic principles. Yeah, there's a lot going on. I can just hand you the rule book if you need to know what this symbol means.
But you just start going. You start collecting cards. You're like, cool, I have this ability now. Sounds good. What does that thing mean?
Right.
I don't want that, or I do want that.
Exactly. And so I love that end of round, tension. Like, oh, I need to get 3 more cards, but someone could end it in like 1 or 2 turns. How is this going to go? I love what this does in a fairly medium weight feeling framework. Like you refer to this as a medium weight game, and I feel like the iconography and some of those things might kind of bump it up a little bit because it is harder to just sit down and learn, and yet it feels so smooth playing it.
It does. It does. And this is one where you have a lot of information at the beginning that you want to work towards with those residences, with your goal cards, that kind of stuff. But at any point you can pivot in this game. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't even think about that the whole first round. And the second round I was like, oh, I should probably work on that one thing.
Yeah.
And you do. So
I like so much about this game. This one really stands on its own, even apart from Maracaibo, right? Whether you like the original or not, I think that you could still really enjoy that. You could dislike the original game, and I think that you could like a lot about this one. And yet I think you could enjoy the original. And this one you wouldn't just say like, I prefer blah, blah, blah. You might, but I think overall you could say this game kind of stands on its own, and therefore really, really recommend it. 8.5s from both of us.
There you go. Those are seals of excellences. There's 2 of them right there. Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And yo ho, go bury some treasure.